All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Dean Naramore from the Bureau of Meteorology. I also have the SES Commander for the Sydney metropolitan area as well. So even though the rain has fallen, major flooding continues for large parts of the Hawkesbury Nepean and also for a few rivers up into the Hunter area. Starting at the Hawkesbury Nepean, in the Nepean River, we've mostly seen the major flood peaks last night and early this morning, with many areas of seeing river levels recede. We are still experiencing moderate flood levels on many locations on the Nepean River, from Menangle Bridge all the way down through to Camden and then towards the Penrith area as well. But river levels are continuing to slowly fall today. Of more concern is the Hawkesbury River. We are seeing major flooding on numerous locations in the Hawkesbury Nepean, from Wiseman Ferry through Sackville, North Richmond and also into the Windsor area. As of right now, the flood peak is approaching the Windsor area, falling just below 14 metres, and this is almost a metre higher than the floods we saw last year. Numerous other communities and residents on the Hawkesbury River and downstream are likely to see the flood rivers peak sometime today and only slowly recede in the coming days. There is a lot of water in the creeks and streams that feed the Hawkesbury and the Nepean rivers, and a lot of that's going to slowly make its way downstream in the coming days. But for many locations, particularly on the Hawkesbury River, we're experiencing major flood levels greater than what we saw in March 21 last year. Now, further north around the Hunter area, we're seeing major flooding on the Wollombi Brook River, where we're seeing major flooding moving through the communities of Bulga and also later today through the Singleton area. And also further downstream, we're likely to see moderate flooding into the Maitland area later tonight into tomorrow. And there is also many minor to moderate flood warnings extending from the Queensland border all the way down to the Victorian border. So if you're in the south coast, Illawarra, and then continuing up around the Northern Rivers area, please stay up to date with the latest warnings there. But thankfully, the rain has eased, and we're going to see those water levels continue to slowly recede in the coming days. But still of concern is the Hawkesbury Nepean for today, tonight, into tomorrow, and there's also parts of the Wollombi Brook River and also parts of the lower and upper Hunter as well. If you're living on or near these rivers, it's important to stay up to date with the latest forecasts and warnings as the water continues to slowly move downstream. Also, the good news, the East Coast low has moved further offshore, and we saw that rain ease overnight with only a few coastal showers about the South Coast, Illawarra, Hunter and the Sydney metropolitan area. But they should mostly clear this evening. And then tomorrow is actually looking like a mostly sunny day for many parts of us in Sydney. And talking about Sydney, we know it's been wet, and you're right, it is the wettest start to Sydney on record, with 872 millimetres falling since January 1st. And that is the wettest start to Sydney so far for any year. It has been a very wet couple of months, and that's not far away from almost our annual, which is approaching just over the metre mark for the year. That is our average, and we're already almost 900 millimetres so far. Looking ahead, the good news is mostly sunny day tomorrow, but still major flooding continuing on the Hawkesbury, Nepean and Wollombi rivers and moving further downstream. And as we move into Friday and the weekend, we may see some coastal showers return, but the good news is there is no major rainfall events, at least in the short term and even into early next week. We're just going to see a few coastal showers continuing, and today we may see a few isolated severe storms in far northeastern New South Wales. That's the Northern Rivers, with large hail damage and winds and heavy rainfall, but they will be isolated and they will be localised. Now, finally, as that low moves away, we're also seeing hazardous and damaging surf occurring across coastal parts of New South Wales, particularly south-facing beaches. So anyone having any beach activities, fishing, swimming and also boating, still hazardous and dangerous conditions out there on the waters, and south-facing beaches could experience coastal erosion again today, particularly on the high tide. We also have a warning for damaging winds for coastal parts of New South Wales, from the Hunter all the way down to the Illawarra and extending into the Illawarra escarpment, with winds gusting up to 90 kilometres an hour, particularly around coastal locations. Now that's enough to bring down trees and possibly power lines, but those winds are going to slowly ease as we move into the afternoon hours. We've already seen winds gusting in 95 kilometres an hour at the airport, and many other locations on the coast gusting to over 90 kilometres an hour last night, but that will all ease today. So I just advise residents who are living on and near the Hawkesbury Nepean, even though the rain has eased, the threat is not over, with many locations experiencing flooding greater than what we saw in March 21, and that water is going to continue moving downstream in the coming days. Even when the sun does come out tomorrow, the flood threat has not eased. So make sure you stay up to date with the latest forecast and warnings and listen to all advice from emergency services. I'll now hand you over to for the Sydney Commander. Cheers.
Thank you, Dean. Greg Swindell's the Zone Commander for the Sydney Metropolitan Area from the New South Wales SES. We've just heard from Dean in regards to the better news in regards to the weather that we can expect in the coming days in Sydney. However, it's most important that we remember that we are still under flood in lots of areas, including the Hawkesbury Nepean and parts of the Camden, and a large number of evacuation orders are still in place. Another busy 24-hour periods for my teams in the Sydney metropolitan area. Close to 2,000 requests for assistance and 71 flood rescues were completed up to 10 a.m. this morning. I'd like to thank the members of the community that are very resilient, particularly up around that Hawkesbury and Nepean area, noticing, adhering to the warnings and the evacuation orders that we've given. People have listened and people are taking action to keep themselves safe, and it's greatly appreciated by us that people are doing so during this period of time. As the week continues, we are expecting that with the strong winds that we'll pick up, we are expecting an increase in storm-related work, and as Dean has mentioned in regards to the strong winds, we have saturated grounds, and we are expecting to see an increase in trees, power lines down. So again, we're urging people and motorists and people around their homes just to take extra care, and if they come across any of these, to be extra careful with the way that they approach and to stay away from that and to keep safe. Again, if people can take this opportunity when the rain does eases with this strong winds to perhaps clean around their homes, their gutters, and tie down loose items to protect them from the wind and blowing away, it would be greatly appreciated and certainly assist us. Whilst still in flood and under evacuation orders, we are busy preparing and planning for our transition to recovery, understanding the process that people wish to get back to their homes as early as they can, and for clean-up to commence for those properties that have had inundation. We certainly will be doing so and transitioning to that as soon as we can when it is safe. So again, thank you to all members of the community that have been affected by this event within the Sydney metro area and across the state, and we certainly do thank you for your assistance so far.
Any questions? Everyone's good?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.